Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. I think I'm live, but I'm going to give it a few minutes to make sure that everything comes online, um, and we will see what happens. So let me know if you guys can hear me okay, and if you can, then we will go ahead and jump in. So I thought I would just come back on and do another stream because I mean we were talking about this earlier in the stream earlier. A potential move back to 12K, and we're already halfway there almost. So I thought it would be useful to to just jump back in, right? I mean, it's not like many of us move too far away from the cryptoverse at any given time, anyways. But with it pumping like 4% or so within a relatively short period of time, um, it seemed prudent to at least jump back on and go through the market here and see what's going on, and also answer questions if you guys have any questions. So if you do have any, you can put them in the chat and I'll try to get to them. And I'm just gonna post this a couple places and then we'll go ahead and jump back in. So definitely let me know. Yeah, definitely let me know if you guys do have questions. And hopefully the stream does okay. I've had um, some issues with some of the streams recently. So yeah, I mean the key thing, right, is not to you don't FOMO into the market, right? When any short term moves come, right? You're set to whatever strategy you're already set to, whether it's a systematic DCA, maybe you picked up some coins at some attractive levels for you, but at the end of the day, what is this, right? I mean, it's just as we've said many times, it was the title of the live stream earlier today. It's just it's business as usual, right? This is business as usual. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Maybe you'll call it a fake pump. Maybe you'll say the volume's not that high, therefore it's all artificial. Maybe you'll say that I don't know I don't know what there is to say, right? But the point is as at the end of the day, Bitcoin shows time and time again how it really does not care at all about the news in a sense, right? In terms of identifying what love, what direction the momentum is, right? If you look at the last couple weeks, all the things that have gone on, people thinking that the stock market was going to crash, then saying that crypto would follow it, and here we are, and things are still doing quite well right now. I mean, Bitcoin is kind of leveled off here at 11.4 for the time being, but we'll see. We'll see if it continues to move up. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is nothing more than business as usual. I don't think there's any reason to suspect that Bitcoin's about to go to like 14K tomorrow. I don't think it will. There's no reason to think that Bitcoin has to fill the CME gap at 9,600. I think there's a good chance it won't. In fact, I personally think it would, again, as I've said before many times, if we look at, say, like the daily time frame and we zoom, let me get rid of the regression band so it's not taking up the whole screen. If we plot on here the 20-week moving average, so let me switch this to 140 days since we're on the daily time frame. I personally, as I said over here, I think it would be extremely. I don't know. I don't know if poetic is the right word, but I think, I mean, looking at the CME gap, down here at around like 9,600 or so, I think it would be poetic for Bitcoin, which is just, to come down here. As I've said before, I don't think the gap needs to be filled, but I think it would be somewhat poetic in the sense for Bitcoin to literally come right down here, and everyone is screaming that this is going to get filled, and then Bitcoin just nopes the what out of there, right? Like just says, you know what, we're not going to appease what you think has to happen. We're going to do what the data has always suggested, and the data has suggested that in a bull run, that the 20-week moving average will hold, right? And I mean, we didn't know at the time that this was going to hold, but the point again is that this does not need to fill the gap that's at like $9,600 does not need to fill. So another reason why I think this would be somewhat poetic is because if you draw a line at 10K, and I'm just going to approximate it, right? I mean, I know I could actually just draw it exact if I wanted to, but let's just approximately draw a line at 10K, and it would be interesting and again poetic in one sense, right? If this was the last time that Bitcoin went to 10K. Now it's somewhat. I think that anyone in the history of the price of Bitcoin, they were always doing themselves a disservice every time Bitcoin went above 10K to say that was going to be the last time, right? They were always doing themselves a disservice because natural volatility of Bitcoin, when it's around 10K, will likely make it go below 10K at some point. However, I do think it would be somewhat poetic, as we've said on the channel for a long time, the 20-week moving average is the level that needs to hold for, to help confirm a bull market. And that was the level that was held. And Bitcoin did not care at all about the CME gap, right? Which is what we said. It does not necessarily need to fill this. And so the point I've made before in terms of in looking at the CME gap is to say, you know what, it may fail, it may not, but for those people that are completely sitting out of the market, waiting for it to fill, that is such a huge risk to take on because the proposition, right, is like, what if it doesn't, right? What if you don't buy it? What if you don't own any Bitcoin because you think it has to come back down here, and then it just never does? It comes back down, and you think it's going to go down, and it doesn't. And then it comes back up, and then it starts to move back up, right? And this is the key thing that I wanted to warn people about. I mean, again, we could still go down and fill it theoretically, but the idea, again, as I've said many times, is that the CME gaps, in my opinion, they do not need to fill. And you can talk about building trust all you want. Bitcoin just doesn't care, right? It just doesn't care at the end of the day whether you have trust in it or not. So in my opinion, it's going to, six figures eventually, whether you're on board or not. But if you look back, you can see we had a pretty good test of the 20-week here, and then a pretty good test of the 20-week here, and then now we've started moving back up, and currently we're approximately 10 to 11% above the 20-week moving average. So if you haven't seen this band before on the weekly time frame, all this is the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA, and I just colored in the region between them. The reason being, again, as I said, is I prefer the 20-week SMA, just the simple moving average. A lot of people like the exponential moving average. So instead of quabbling over something so silly, let me just put them both on the chart, and we'll have both of them there. So now you can see both of them. The red line is the SMA, the 20-week, right? So a break below this back here yielded a pretty drastic fall in the short term down to the 100-week moving average, and then a break below it again over here led us down to the 200-week moving average with a wick to the 300-week. So one of the patterns, and I've said this many times as well, we don't know if the pattern will repeat, but we're seeing this similar type pattern play out that we did see last cycle. So if you follow the channel for even the last few weeks, you'll have known that we've been talking about this pattern here. So again, I know at risk of sounding repetitive, I'm going to go over it again. If you've seen it 1,000 times, my apologies. I did publish like 3 or 4 videos today, so there should be something that you haven't seen. But if we just look at the local top back in the first successful test of the 20-week moving average during the last cycle, right, and then identify the local top and local bottom, there is a lot of similarities between what's happening now and what happened back then, right? So we had that move up, and then it broke to the local top, and then back down to the local bottom. And again, this local bottom corresponded to the 20-week moving average, which also was the prior local top. And then it came back up to the local top. And then when it came back down, it did not go back down to the local bottom. Instead, it went down to the 20-week SMA, which is the red line. So if we zoom in over here, you can see that when it came back down to test it again, the 20-week moving average had increased from around $360, and it had increased to around $393 or $400 or so. So it came back down, tested it, rode the 20-week for several weeks, then came back to the local top, then sideways essentially into the 20-week moving average more or less, and then it pumped out, right? And notice, as we said before, right, this was a 20% drop into the 20-week moving average. So if we just follow this like move for move, right? I mean, I know I've talked about this a lot on the channel, so please forgive me, but this is what's happening, right? This is what's happening in crypto right now. And if we look at the same type of pattern, we came up to the local top that we formed, back down to the local bottom, which also corresponded to the 20-week moving average, right? This was the 20-week moving average. Then the proposition or the theory, right, is if it repeats, is maybe it'll go back to the local top, which is 12K. And if that pattern continues, the same one that we saw, well, first of all, we know that the 20-week moving average on the 21 EMA will continue to move up now that the price is continuing to move up, obviously. So if it does something like this, then and then it retests it, and then it comes back down to the 20-week, then maybe it'll retest the 20-week in a few weeks at a higher value, maybe 10.7 or 10.8 or something. And if it continues to repeat, then it would go back to the local top, and then it would go sideways until the 20-week catches up, right? And then it would break out. This would be, of course, if it identically repeated what it did last cycle. Obviously, there's a good chance it doesn't, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of if it did what we experienced last cycle if you were not here at the time. So last cycle, this is basically what we went through, right? Local top, back to the bottom. Oh no, it's going back down, but it doesn't. It goes back to the local top, back down to the 20-week, back to the local top, sideways into the 20-week, and then it broke out. So, this is, I mean, again, at the end of the day, like all this essentially is just business as usual, of course, and we're still on the path, right, that we've essentially always been on, and that is a slow and methodical move back to the prior all-time high of 20K, and this has not changed. Like, this has not changed at all. I think we're slowly on track to get there. And if you scroll back, right, I mean, there has been a lot of volatility, of course. There's been a lot of volatility in the price of Bitcoin, but it's more or less trending up, right? I mean, it's still more or less trending up. If you look at the logarithmic regression line, which the fair value one, which is like this one right here, you can see that we came down to it over here, but we've spent most of our time above it, actually. We came down below it right here, but for the most part, we've been above it. So you can see that the price of Bitcoin is generally trending upwards, right? It's generally trending upwards to the last, or to the last all-time high of 20K. So again, this is nothing more than business as usual. I mean, it's possible that we go straight back down below 11K, but again, that point is more or less irrelevant. It doesn't really matter if it does. It still doesn't change the fact that we are on a slow, methodical move back to 20K in over the next 16 months or so, is what I would say. I mean, obviously there's some uncertainty on exactly how long it'll take, but I think it is a slow, methodical move back to a sustainable 20K. And we're just in the middle of it, right? And for better or for worse, you're experiencing every little move up and move down. And again, remember, when you look at the macro scale of the last cycle, it's easy for people to say, who are buying it way up here, it's easy to say, oh man, you're so lucky that you bought it over here because all it did was go up. But you know that's not the case, right? You know that's not what happened. I mean, you know that even in this move, there were plenty of 20, 30, 40% drops back to the 20-week SMA, right? We know that even though it looks like it's all fun and games, it's really, there really are a lot of pretty, heart-wrenching moves back down to the 20-week moving average, which sometimes were upward of 40% correction within the matter of a week or so. So in the same manner, in a few years, let's say in 2023, I mean, let's just extend the price and let's go to a weekly time frame. So if we just, if we're a little bit pragmatic about our approach and don't just say it's going to go up to 100K next year, which is, again, what a lot of people would have you believe, but let's be a little bit more pragmatic and say, well, that's not really what the data suggests. So let's just say again that the price, continues to move something like this, and it finally gets to a sustainable 20K. Maybe it goes above it in 2022, and then comes back down to test it, and then ultimately we go on our merry way to whatever the next all-time high is, which I think would probably correspond to wherever the peak of this regression band ends up. Okay, and then whenever we get here, right, there's going to be plenty of dumb money pouring in, right? Plenty of dumb money pouring in at these levels. Again, as I said this before, one of the most common questions I get is, where's the money going to come from, right? And all you have to do is look around. What happened during the last altcoin mania phase, like a few weeks ago, right? So much money was pouring in, and a lot of money was pouring into coins that were already up 100x. So the money's there, right? Don't worry about the money. Like the money exists, and as I made the point in the live stream earlier today, the money has been there to take Bitcoin from 10 cents to $1 to then $10 to then $100 to then $1,000 to then $10,000. So to say like, oh, now the money just simply doesn't exist in the world to take it from 10K to 100K is a little bit absurd. I understand that it'll take a lot more volume to move it from 10K to 100K, as the illustration I painted earlier, right, is if you find a coin that's a $1 million market cap, it's a lot easier for it to move up 10x and go to a $10 million market cap than it would be for a coin like Bitcoin to go from, say, a 100 billion market cap to a $1 trillion market cap. We know this, and the reason because it's harder, it takes longer. You don't even need a look at lengthening cycles to understand that it will take longer to move up another order of magnitude. So again, this is nothing more than just business as usual. So there will be the dumb money that will likely pour into the market. So don't worry about it. I can assure you that it does exist. If Bitcoin really starts pumping, 40K, 50K, 60K, there will be people to buy it. It's just a matter of them, FOMOing into the market. And this is why we spend so much time talking about it here and now, because I guarantee you, there will come a day, well, I can't guarantee anything, I guess, but I can almost assure you that there will come a day, just like there has for every accumulation phase in the past, there will come a day where people, we'll look back and just always wish we had accumulated more, right? Kind of always wish that we had accumulated more. But I think for us, we are accumulating, and we're doing it hopefully in a responsible way, and not you're not betting the family farm or anything. But I think there will come a day where we'll look back on this and say, you know what? There was a ton of volatility in here. There was a ton of nails that you bit off because you were so nervous. But again, at the end of the day, this is nothing more than what I would consider to be the fourth macro level accumulation phase for Bitcoin, right? I mean, this is, again, it's just business as usual. So once this day comes out here, we're going to look back on this time, I think, in a fond way, and say, you know what, like, this was the time of our life, right? This was the time where we accumulated what we wanted to accumulate, and now we're reaping the rewards over here. For the people that are buying over here, they're not investing, they are gambling, right? So there's a difference. I would say that investing is buying it down here and then just being patient, waiting for that move to come to you. Gambling is waiting for the market to just become extremely volatile like this, and then just throwing your money at anything that's shilled on YouTube or Twitter, and hoping that it works out for the best. So again, this would be an investment. This would be just pure gambling. So, again, it's still at only 11.4 right now. I don't know if it's going to go to 12K in the next day or not, but again, I think there is a fairly decent chance that we retest the local top, which was 12K, right? I mean, I think there's a fairly decent chance we test this sometime in the foreseeable future. But I don't necessarily think that we're going to break it the next time we test it, right? I mean, there's always a good chance that we come back down to the 20-week, gain support again, and then take another run at it. So I think this is an exciting time, right? I think it's an exciting time. It surely is exciting to see the 20-week moving average holding for basically the 6th week in a row. And if Bitcoin stays at these levels at like 11.4, 11.5, we might expect some altcoins to start moving again. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys like the content, please give the video a thumbs up. We only have 74 likes, so give the video a thumbs up if you guys like the content, and please subscribe to the channel so you can tune in for future videos. And you can also click the bell icon if you want to get notified of future videos. So again, with Ethereum, even now, I still contend that with Bitcoin being this volatile, it likely will continue to lose value against Bitcoin. What we need for Ethereum to start moving again is Bitcoin is actually at a pretty healthy level now. If you look at the price, if you imagine, a scenario again in our multiverse, if the one we live in ends up taking Bitcoin and it moves sideways for a few weeks, this would be prime Ethereum territory, right? Prime Ethereum territory for Ethereum to start pumping if that were to happen. So in the meantime, you can see that Ethereum, the valuation of Ethereum against Bitcoin has been moving down, and it's because again Bitcoin has been testing the 20-week a lot recently, and Bitcoin has been very volatile itself. So what we need now that Bitcoin has made a move to the upper part of what I would consider the reaccumulation zone, what we need Bitcoin to do is to start moving sideways. And maybe it goes to 12K first and then move sideways, or maybe it just moves sideways now. That's what we would need, in my opinion, well, according to the data, to hopefully see an Ethereum breakout. Now, if on the other hand, Bitcoin, if this is a complete fake out and 11.4 will not hold in the short term, and the price just comes tumbling back down, back to like 10.8 or something, which is still a really good level, 10.8, but it's not really as high as I would want it to be for Ethereum. But even if it did come tumbling back down to say 10.8, then I would expect, again, the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio to bleed. Okay, so one of the most common frustrations I see in crypto is that it seems like, and when you're in it long enough, you start to respect it a little bit more. But it's like if Bitcoin goes up, altcoins bleed. If Bitcoin goes down, altcoins bleed. The main thing that helps altcoins, and I don't consider Ethereum an altcoin, but I'm just including it in this discussion as an altcoin just for the sake of inclusion in terms of all other coins besides Bitcoin. The main thing, again, that gives altcoins or Ethereum the confidence they need to pump against USD and to pump against Bitcoin is for Bitcoin to be slightly bullish, not too bullish. If it's too bullish, this is being too bullish, where it's pumping, in the last day or two, it's pumping 7 or 8%. This is too bullish, okay? What is not too bullish is if it just starts moving sideways. This is what we want for coins like Ethereum to start moving back up, right? And this is that general uptrend that we would want to continue to see Ethereum do. So again, Bitcoin gets too bullish to the upside. I mean, if Bitcoin gets too volatile to the upside or the downside, most coins will bleed against it. If on the other hand, it's slightly bullish, not too close to the 20-week, but if if it has a healthy distance between itself and the 20-week and it starts moving sideways, this could help potentially open the gates for coins like Ethereum, and for coins like Chainlink. This is Chainlink obviously is another one that we've been talking about. And again, with Chainlink, I've said many times, who does not want to be part of that move, right? I mean, this is, you look at it and you say, this is exponential growth, as we showed in a video the other day. This is exponential growth of Link against Bitcoin, and it's like, who does not want to be a part of this move? And this has been the contention I've had with Link for a long time. I mean, I started the channel in 2019, so I started talking about it over here, and we noticed these really nice trends of Link against Bitcoin, and then we said this is a trend that you likely want to be a part of because it was already at a local all-time high with its valuation against USD and Bitcoin in 2019. So, and most altcoins can't say anywhere close to the same thing, right? Most altcoins cannot, have nothing to really brag about. They're still 90% down, 95% down against Bitcoin. A lot of coins that are 95% down, my contention with those is they had no business being as highly evaluated as they were in the last market cycle. But Link, on the other hand, is one of those coins. I think there's a good chance that it's going to be the poster child of this market cycle, right? I mean, and we made a video on that about 2 months ago or so. If you look at the last market cycle, it was Ethereum, and if you look at the valuation of Ethereum, let me zoom out here. So I'll remind you, $1,000 investment into Ethereum in November of 2015 would have yielded you approximately 1.5 million in January of 2018. Okay, now I think there's a good chance that the ROI will be lower, right? I think that on the whole, the asset class will yield lower returns than the last market cycle. But if you look at the price increase of Ethereum from the bottom to the top, I mean, this is approximately 343,000%. Okay, 343,000% over the course of a couple years, a little over a couple years. Now, if you look at Link, and we go from the bottom, right, which you could even measure all the way back to the beginning of 2017, or the end of 2017. If we take a measured move from here to where we currently are, it's up around 8,500%. If it at the peak at $20, it was up around 16,000%. Okay, if it were to go to something absurd like Ethereum did, just to give you an idea, and then after I show this, I'm going to try to tell you that it's probably not going to happen. It would look something like this. So it would look something, around, let's say 350,000. Sorry, that's 3.5 million. Let me pull it down here. So 350,000% from the bottom, which would essentially be what Ethereum did last cycle, would put it at a valuation of approximately $455 per link, right? Per link, if it were to increase to the same valuation percentage increase that Ethereum did. Again, I don't think it will. I think that the last cycle, I think that the ROI from any given coin from the last cycle will be higher. But you never know. I mean, there's always a chance. Look how far it's already come. I mean, it's already gone from 10 cents to $20 at the local top, right? So 10 cents to $1, then $1 to $10, 100x. So it's already gone up 200x from the bottom. So I mean, to completely say that it can't do this is also, probably not smart, because there's a chance that it could. But at the same time, I mean, this is a pretty incredible move that Link has seen over the last few years, 8,000% in the bear market, in the accumulation phase. And now that we're potentially in the beginning of a bull market, it is somewhat sobering to think about like what could it do, like what could it accomplish if Bitcoin is able to actually stay bullish. So, I also want to caution you that even in a bull market, the contention, right, is remains the same, lengthening cycles. So that would put the next peak for Bitcoin, sometime in 2023. So the next peak for Link would probably also be sometime, I think, in 2023. So this is generally what I think, and I think that, again, Link is probably, or there's at least a decent chance that it will be the poster child of this market cycle, right? You look back on it and say, like, wow, like what a great ROI, because we've already seen it, right? And we've already seen it, and we've seen its valuation against Bitcoin continue to go up exponentially. And we know that the exponential growth will not last forever. We know this. Like, this is not something that needs to be told, but it's just a matter of fact that we knew it here too when we talked about this exponential growth. We knew it back in 2019, and again, people said it wasn't going to last forever, but it still lasted. I mean, it's still lasting right now. So the thing for me, right, is I'll follow the data until the data shifts, and until that time comes, I just like to use the data to inform my decisions. And for now, it essentially means that, I think that Link, again, is just going through a lot of these boom and bust cycles against Bitcoin, and it's just a matter of, taking advantage of them or not taking advantage of them, right? So this is the general idea. Monero, obviously, is still doing quite well, which is I think pretty much anticipated at this point. And ADA Bitcoin is actually, when I just published a video recently talking about the squeeze between these moving averages, but it actually might be breaking out above it. So we'll continue to follow that. All right, let me know what questions you guys have. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. Give the video a thumbs up. Turn on the bell icon if you guys want to see the future videos, and go ahead and start asking questions, and I'll try to get through as many of them as I can. Yeah, I mean the Ethereum charts right here. The price of Ethereum is 375. The upper bound of the regression band is 377. So we're essentially right at the top of it. So we're right below it. Jesus Gonzalez has been, what were you doing when price broke 11.1K? I was actually watching the NBA finals, and when it broke it, I started immediately talking in one of the Telegram channels and informing people of what was going on. What do you think about Polkadot? I think that Polkadot has a role to play this cycle, right? And this is what I've said. This is a coin that there's not enough data to have any idea of what it's going to do. I'm not going to pretend like I can tell you what Polkadot is going to do. The only thing that I've contended for me is that I think that it has a role to play this cycle, and that for me it's worth dollar cost averaging into over the last few weeks, right? And we'll see what happens, right? Well, I mean, we'll see what happens with it. But this is a coin that I've said many times on this channel. It is a coin I am accumulating. And by the way, most altcoins I don't accumulate during times like this, right? When Bitcoin is testing the 20-week, I don't accumulate most altcoins. Because again, I mean, they mostly just bleed against Bitcoin. But the thing with Polkadot is, it recently launched. I didn't really have much of it. So my idea is just to slowly accumulate it over a few months so that I have a sizable stack of it, and I'll just hold on to it for a little bit, right? I don't have any intentions of selling it anytime soon. I'm mainly just buying it and staking it. So this is my idea with Polkadot. And again, I don't say it lightly when I say that I'm accumulating an altcoin, especially during a time when Bitcoin has been testing the 20-week moving average, and I've been accumulating it the entire time. So, and the only other altcoin I was accumulating over the last few weeks was, I don't consider Ethereum an altcoin, by the way. The only other one was Link, right? And that was when it just went below the zero point 0.5 risk level, which, you know, it worked out really well. I mean, I think the zero point 0.5 Link USD risk level is a pretty, it worked out, right? It worked out better than I thought it would. I thought we would maybe spend a little bit more time below it, but the zero point 0.5 risk level over here was around $8 and we went slightly below it. And then just a couple days ago, the 0.5 risk level was around 846, and we went slightly below it. So I was able to accumulate a little bit more Link, but I wouldn't buy it at these prices, right? I think that these prices are too high. The risk on it is too high at this point. But it did a, you know, down here it was pretty good, actually up here as well, so in this region, and then also right at the bottom. And you might think, oh yeah, like hindsight is 2020, and of course it would have made sense to buy there. Again, on the premium list, I said that this was where I was buying. So it's all documented. This was where I was buying, and then right there at the very bottom. So again, if you want access to that, you can find it at intothecryptoverse.com. So check it out. You get access to the weekly premium reports, the weekly premium videos, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, and the risk dashboard, which is what I use to trade. And let's see. I think that covered the question. Let me see if there's any other question. What do you think about the future of Uni near and long term? I think that the Uniswap governance token, it'll probably pump anytime there's like altcoin mania, right? I think the Uniswap governance token probably will do pretty well during the market cycle, because anytime there's this altcoin mania, there's a good chance that people are going to FOMO into that coin. So again, it's a coin that I can't really say one way or another if it's going to go up or down in the short term, because I honestly have no idea. But it is a coin that will probably do quite well during a market cycle where people are trading a lot of these ERC20s and rushing to Uniswap, you know, to do so. Okay, sorry, let me see what questions are. A lot of the coins that I don't cover on the channel, like especially if they're low cap if they're low market cap coins, like I'm not gonna really have much of an opinion on them. You know, I'm not going to pretend that I have a qualified opinion about every coin out there, right? My argument is that it's better to know how, you know, 5 or 6 coins behave with respect to each other than to gamble or to just throw money at like 100 different coins and hope for the best. Of course, there's going to be some that take off and you don't see the ROIs with those coins. But I mean, who cares, right? There's also stocks that are going up that you don't own. There's also, you know, real estate appreciating in places that you don't own. So the idea that you have to own every possible crypto that might theoretically pump, in my opinion, is not a smart move, because then you have to manage, okay, how are all these coins moving with respect to each other? And so I'd rather just stick to a few coins. So it's not that I want to ignore these questions that you guys have in terms of asking me, oh, well, what do you think about such and such coin? It's just that I really haven't sat down and studied its trend for any sufficient period of time to give you guys an opinion that's worth listening to. So I'm just saving you the time so that I don't ramble about a coin that I have no business rambling about. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I see the questions. You know, you guys are. Yeah, I mean, again, it's not that I don't. It's not that I want to ignore the questions, right? Where you guys are asking me about Yearn Finance or Theta, or, um, you know, like I'm trying to see some of the other ones. It's not that I I want to ignore you. It's just that what am I going to say? Like, oh, like, yeah, the chart goes up, the chart goes down. Like, okay, who cares, right? Who cares? This is it's not something that's really worth talking about. What's more worth talking about, right, is looking at these longer term trends and coins that I cover on the channel so that we can help identify, okay, is it overheating? Is it time to be DCing your cells out? Or is it time to be moving into the market? So it's a completely different, it's a different type of approach. It's not, let's just talk about 100 different coins, whatever the flavor of the day is. Let's talk about a few coins, figure out how they work, and then just focus on those. Um, Someone said, "What did I make for dinner?" I actually made a lot. I made a nice dinner. It was steak, asparagus and potatoes. That's what I made for dinner. That's why I had to go earlier because I was doing a live stream earlier today, but I had to go to cook dinner for the family. I'm pretty sure SAS Crypto is joking. Do you have any macro opinions on Bitcoin? I'm pretty sure I've seen you in the chat before, so I'm going to assume you're just joking. How did I cook the steak? I tend to like my medium rare. Um, yeah, I don't want the steaks to be well done by any means. Rare is safely possible. Is it still acceptable to be accumulating Link at these prices? Um, um, uh, I would say I mean I'll give you my personal. I mean you can do whatever you want, right? I would say no. I mean I would say that I accumulated at the point 0.5 risk level. It was around 750 over here, and around 850 over here, but no. I mean I would say it's too high now. The risk is too high. I mean it could keep going up. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that it can't, but I wouldn't go FOMO into a pump. Is my general thinking. Are time and space just an illusion used as building blocks for our simulation? I don't know. I don't really prescribe to the simulation theory that we're all living in a giant simulation. Sorry, I think I missed some questions, so I'm just gonna scroll up. Um, Looks like SAS Crypto was joking, which I thought. Um, what is my favorite stablecoin? I mean, there's a lot of the different ones that I use, right? I mean, I use USDC, I use DAI, I mean, whether you like it or not, I use USDT, Tether sometimes because I mean, sometimes you have to, right? I mean, it's cool to hate on it, of course. It's cool to say that you shouldn't, but at the end of the day, when you're talking about what's the most practical and pragmatic, the USD pair often has the lion's share of the liquidity. And when you're worried about slippage, if you're worried about trading large quantities of a cryptocurrency, you want there to be a lot of volume and a lot of orders out there. You don't want to try to purchase a coin and then watch it slip by a lot more than you were really wanting to see it slip by. So um, I mean, I use, and it also depends on what exchange I'm on, of course. How much more ADA would you advise holding, or how much more ADA would you advise holding versus Ethereum since it is your hedge? How much more ADA? I would have more Ethereum than ADA for sure. I would have a lot more Ethereum. I mean, I do have a lot more Ethereum than ADA. Um, where do you think Link could realistically end up when Bitcoin peaks? I think that it's a tough question, right? Because it hedges or it hinges on a lot of different things. I don't think it's and I say this with a level of respect for for the crypto community, right? I don't like to make like ludicrous predictions that I don't think are true, but I mean to say that it can't go up another 20 or 30x. I feel like it could, right? I mean, I feel like it could go to a few $100s. Like it's possible. It's possible it goes to between $100 to $200. Maybe it goes higher. I don't know, but I mean, certainly, if Link is at $10 now and Bitcoin's at 12 or 11K, if Bitcoin were to go to 100K, and Link were to continue the trend that it's been on, I mean, don't take my opinion, right? Don't take my opinion. And if someone out there tells you like, such and such coin is going to whatever valuation because that's what will get them clicks, like ignore it. Look at what the data says, okay? So the data shows that this is the trend of Link against Bitcoin. So it's the same thing when we talk about any other thing in the market. Do you assume that this is the trend and that it's going to immediately completely change course and do something like this, right? I don't operate like that. Yeah, it could. I mean, it also could have done it over here, but it didn't. So what I operate on is I tend to go where the data goes, right? So the data is generally moving up like this, right? The valuation of Link against Bitcoin. I mean, if we were to take a pretty conservative approach and draw, let's actually draw a line down here, and instead of trying to draw, let's just say it's something like this, and let me switch over to a weekly time frame. So let's switch it over to a weekly time frame because I'm going to show you guys what I'm thinking here. So if this is the Link valuation against Bitcoin, and it continues like this, let's say it doesn't do something like this where it continues to march up like that, but instead let's be super conservative. Okay, let's be conservative and say it even comes back down and continues on up like this. Okay, so then by the beginning of 2022, let's say by March of 2022, it's at a valuation of approximately 0.002. Okay, 0.002. So it's currently at around 0.001. Okay, so let's suppose that in 2022, let's suppose that the beginning of 2022, Bitcoin is at 20K. Okay, so right here, let's suppose that Bitcoin goes to 20K, meaning that Bitcoin will if Bitcoin approximately goes up by 2x, okay, then the valuation, if it stayed the same where it currently is, let's just say it's around 0.001, if it stayed the same, then the price of Link would be $20, right? If Bitcoin just doubled and the ratio stayed the same, okay? Now, if the ratio continues a very conservative path, right, like this, meaning if the ratio doubles, then we could see a $40 Link, right? This would be a $40 Link because the ratio of Link has doubled against Bitcoin, but the price of Bitcoin has also doubled. So we're looking at a 4x from where it currently is, which is from $10. So that would put Link at $40. But remember, this is a very conservative approach because if you look at the Link valuation against Bitcoin, I mean it tends to be doing something like this. Like it looks like it could also go on this path as well, right? So imagine it goes on this path. Imagine the valuation is 0.004 as opposed to 0.002. Well, if it's 0.004 instead of 0.002, 0.002 would put it at $40. So then 0.004 would put it at $80. Okay. So this would be, this would just be if the trend stays humdrum, right? If nothing changes and the trend continues on like it has. Again, this is not my opinion. This is all this is if the trend continues in the same manner that has been on for the last, 2.5 years, 3 years almost. If this 3-year trend continues, this is what we're looking at. So with that in mind, what happens when Bitcoin does get to 20K, right? I mean, and again, it's a possibility that, and my contention is that when Bitcoin makes the final push to 20K, most altcoins will bleed against Bitcoin. Okay, and then after Bitcoin gets to 20K, then I think a lot of coins would pump against Bitcoin for a brief period, and then they would come back down some, and the market would probably move sideways for a while, and then Bitcoin would start pumping again, and we would just continue to repeat the process for a few more, maybe another 18 months or so. But so let's suppose that Link is able to get to, let's say, a conservative valuation of $40 by early 2022, which would imply a Bitcoin valuation of 0.002, which is a pretty conservative prediction if this trend holds up. So if it's here by the beginning of 2022 and it's at $40, then when this would be, by the way, before Bitcoin goes into price discovery mode. I mean, as we've showed before, if you look at the macro view, we have a parabolic move, a bear market, a slow move to the prior all-time high, and then goes parabolic. A bear market, a slow move to the prior all-time high, and then it goes parabolic. Again, a bear market, a slow move to the prior all-time high, and then it goes parabolic. So whenever Bitcoin goes into price discovery mode, and if Link is already at $40, then it's not hard to imagine Link going up another few multiples from there, right? So from $40 to $100 or $200 would certainly be on the cards, because we've looked at past cycles and recognized that a lot of coins tend to pump, right? When if we look at Ethereum, the 3 main times it pumped during the last market cycle against Bitcoin, beginning of 2016, this was when Bitcoin held the 20-week moving average for the first time, right? So if we zoom in, so beginning of 2016 is when Bitcoin was holding the 20-week moving average. This was when Ethereum approximately it started pumping right before the 20-week was held, about 2 or 3 weeks before it. This was the first major move of Ethereum. The second major move came in the first quarter of 2017, which, as you know, was when Bitcoin got to its prior all-time high. So the first quarter of 2017, Bitcoin was slowly moving up. It was during this period that Ethereum was just going crazy. And then the third time was at the end of Bitcoin's bull run. Ethereum had another move, going into like January of 2018. So just looking at these trends and recognizing that it seems like Link may be one market cycle behind Bitcoin, just like Ethereum, or Link may be one market cycle behind Ethereum, which Ethereum is one market cycle behind Bitcoin in terms of their volatility, but also recognizing that their volatility will likely be less each cycle for the whole market cap, for the whole asset class. I think that if, a $100, $200 Link could certainly be on the cards if these trends simply continue. I hope I answered your question. I think I answered it as well as I can possibly answer it without having more charts handy. Maybe I do have some handy, actually. I actually did a video on this the other day. So this, if you guys want to see it just as a second time, this is the Link valuation against Bitcoin. This is the Link non-bubble data, what I deemed to be non-bubble data, the red data points. This is the best fit for Link in the non-bubble data against Bitcoin. This would be adding a tolerance band. This would be putting it on a log scale. So you can see it's increased 2 orders of magnitude against Bitcoin since days, in the last 1,200 days, 1,100 days or so. This is a nice exponential move. You might say, oh, this doesn't look exponential. It looks linear. It's a logarithmic scale. So each major tick is 10x. Again, if you go back, you can see the exponential growth. And then if we switch days since inception to also be on a logarithmic scale, you can see this very nice trend, right? We're slowly grinding up this curve here, and it's going to take longer and longer. I mean, this was 10 days, 100 days, 1,000 days, right? So the next few tick marks are going to be, I mean, to continue to climb up this curve is going to take longer and longer to do so. So just keep that in mind, right? Keep it in mind that it will take longer. I mean, if this is, let's say this would be 2,000 days. So if 1,000 days is here, and then if this is 2,000 days, this tick mark right here, it takes us up to a valuation of almost 0.004. So basically way up here, and give it a couple more years, and we'll essentially be at that point, right? We'll be at that point. So I think things are lining up actually quite well. So okay, let's go back to the chart. Let's see what Bitcoin's doing. It's still at 11.4 right now, so maybe it'll just cool off here. And again, if it does cool off and starts moving sideways, this will probably be really good for altcoins. Okay, sorry, I'm just gonna go back and look at some of the questions. The dude says, still sure we're staying beneath 14K this year. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, there's a good chance we stay below 14K. I feel like it's more likely that we stay below 14K than go above 14K. That's for sure. At least this year. Sorry, I'm just going through the comments. Let's try to keep the comments a little bit higher quality. I know some of you guys are used to just trolling the comment section of YouTube channels, but I can assure you that my tendency to hide people from the channel forever is the resistance on that is really low. So if you start acting up or making completely useless comments, then I'll just hide you and I won't think twice about it. I want to keep the channel as as useful as possible. Sorry, I'm just going through the comments. Someone says, "Do you think Bitcoin will go below 4K?" Probably not. I mean, if you look at the, if you look at like the weekly chart, the 300-week moving average is ultimately where the wick bottomed last time, and the 300-week moving average is now at 46.90. So I really don't think it's going to go below 4K again. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content, and also I only see 196 likes and 611 people viewing, so let's get some more likes. I don't have enough. Someone asked for a price prediction on DOT. I have no idea. I'm not going to talk about leverage trading on the channel. Okay, I'm assuming Andre is a troll. Um, so I guess I'll just go ahead and remove him from the channel. So goodbye. Sorry, Andre, we can't see your comments anymore, buddy. Yeah, if you're gonna troll, you're gonna be gone. This guy named Ya says, "Do you believe in stock to flow model?" I mean, as I've said many times on the channel, the stock to flow, there's nothing to believe in, right? It's like in graduate school. Again, as I've said before, there was a saying: garbage in, garbage out. You make a garbage model. It doesn't matter what you get out of it. It doesn't matter how you try to justify it. It's still garbage. This is my thought on the stock to flow model. It's complete garbage. It's good for marketing. It's good for getting people interested maybe in Bitcoin because there's some promise of $100,000 Bitcoin in 2021. But at the end of the day, it's garbage in, garbage out, and the model is simply nothing more than that, in my opinion. Right? I mean, Bitcoin will not go to 100K in 2021. It will likely take much longer. And again, as I said before, look for a narrative shift throughout crypto YouTube, throughout crypto Twitter. People will start telling you why their predictions were wrong. Oh, it was because of the pandemic. It was because of maybe, whatever the reason is. There was always going to be a reason. And I made videos in 2019 telling people that there will always be a reason why these people are wrong. And they'll tell you why they're wrong. There'll be a convenient reason they'll point to, and people will believe them. People will look at it and say, oh, yeah, they're right. That's a plausible reason. But in reality, it was never going to 100K next year anyways. That's the point. It was never going there anyways. But there will be a reason that these people will give their followers as to why they were wrong. And many of these followers will drink the Kool-Aid, right, so to speak, and continue to believe that these guys have any clue as to what they're talking about. It's in my opinion, it's nothing more than marketing, right? I mean, who wants to listen to me tell you that it's going to take 3 more years, probably, when someone's telling you that you only have to wait 12 months? Of course, most people would lean towards thinking that the guy that is going to tell them they're going to be rich next year, they're going to like that guy more. They're going to give him the upvotes. They're not going to want to do that to the guy as much telling you that it's going to take longer. And it's just, this is what the data says, right? It's just what the data says. It's not even what Ben says. I mean, just look at the data. It doesn't take a genius to figure it out, right? And this is the whole point. You guys, a lot of people that watch this channel say, oh, but what about stock to flow? What about 4-year cycles? Again, there's no evidence of 4-year cycles. And the longer we get into the market cycle, it's just like why you guys continue to believe it is beyond me. Again, if we draw it out in 3 different ways, we'll look at it. And this is a pretty rudimentary way to do it, and you can do this yourself on TradingView. You come over here, you grab the date and price range tool. Actually, let's not even do it. We'll just do the date. Whether you measure it from bottom to bottom from each cycle, you can see that the cycles are lengthening, right? So 69 weeks, 164 weeks, 205 weeks, okay? Now, if we extend that to try to project out when the next bottom of the next bear market will be from this local bottom, if it were 205 weeks, which is exactly what it was last time, it would put us, at the end of 2022. But we can tell that it's increasing. So let's maybe go out to 250 weeks or 260 weeks. You can see that it's probably going to be in 2024 would be my guess. Somewhere in maybe even late 2023, I don't know. Maybe 2024, something like that, maybe even longer. We don't exactly know how long it's increasing. You only have 3 data points, so there's only so much you can say. Then you can measure it from bottom to top, right? You just measure the market cycle in and of itself from bottom to top. This one was 45 weeks. This one was 108 weeks. And then this one was 152 weeks. So if this one were exactly the same length as the last cycle, which it wouldn't be, it would put us at the end of 2021. What's more likely, though, is it's going to be longer, and it'll probably put us sometime in either, I've said the earliest I could see it happening is late 2022. So late 2022 would be the earliest I could see it happening. There's a good chance it'll happen in 2023. Or maybe if you measure it from top to top, if you prefer top to top, which is probably the worst way to measure it, 132 weeks between the first two, and then 213 between the next. So if we were to measure it for the next one, and we expect, to go up another 100 maybe, or another 70 or something, again, it'll put us, approximately in 2023. So again, I get it. There's not a lot of data points to go off of. You could argue 3 data points doesn't make a trend, but the idea where you would say that this suggests a Fourier cycle theory is completely absurd. And the most common argument is to say, oh, well, we're going to ignore this one. Yeah, I'm sorry, you can't just ignore whatever 80% drop is convenient for you just to make it so the Fourier cycle theory is true, right? You can't cherry pick. If you start cherry picking 80% drops, then over month, several months or something, then you're basically coming up with a narrative and then trying to find the data to support it. What you should rather do is you look to see what the data suggests and then come up with a narrative, like figure out what the narrative is based on what the data says. Don't do it the other way. Don't come up with the Fourier cycle theory and then try to figure out what data supports it. The only data that supports it really is just one market cycle and essentially ignoring everything that happened before it. So again, garbage in, garbage out. That pretty much sums up my thoughts on a lot of these models. And I think some people are coming around. I mean, if you look at crypto YouTube, crypto Twitter, there's already people starting to publish more and more stuff on why stock to flow is wrong, why other models are wrong. By the way, stock to flow model is wrong on like every asset. So the idea that it has to be right for Bitcoin is somewhat absurd. And you can imagine several different scenarios where it would not have worked out at all. Like imagine if the supply schedule for Bitcoin was completely different, or it just would not have worked. It would not have worked out at all. And so to just fit an equation, to pretty much fit a simple equation and get an R squared of 0.99 and say that it's accurate. A middle schooler could do this, right? A middle schooler could come up with something like this. But yeah, for some reason, this is what gets thousands of followers, or I should say hundreds of thousands of people like thinking it's true, which I think almost assuredly is not true, and will only take another 6 months or so before it's completely evident. So I'll get off my soapbox and start talking about some other things. But again, we always get these questions in the chat, and it's gonna be the same story every time. There's no evidence to support that any of that stuff is remotely true, and cherry picking data to make it true still doesn't make it true. Okay. All right, I'm just looking at some of the comments. Like someone says you're an intelligent dude, but we've never printed 2 centuries of money in a couple months. I mean, like what kind of response do you want me to say to that? Like, yeah, like we printed a lot of money recently. Okay, we have. We're still. A lot of people still aren't even spending a lot of this money. And there's certain parts of the markets that actually contract during times of inflation, and so as much as the Fed wants the money to increase, quickly, right? It just doesn't, because there's other parts of the market that contract during these times, and people just aren't spending like they were. So yeah, there has been a lot of printing recently, but you really didn't actually follow that up with any type of thought that I can respond to. You just made you said I'm smart, and then made a blanket comment. Implying something, but I'm not really sure what you're implying. Brinson says, but the halving is 4 years. The price is driven by that, so it has to be a multiple fraction of 4 years. Again, you're basically just being spoon-fed this. People are telling you that this is what it's caused by. And I'm telling you that I think there's a really good chance that we're going to see. I don't know if it's going to happen this cycle. If not this one, then the next one, that we'll see 2 halvings in one market cycle. I guess JG is a troll, so I will oblige him and remove him from the channel. One of the nice things about doing live streams is it tends to bring the trolls out. It's kind of nice, so I can go ahead and remove them. Someone said, can you show the Monero breakout? Yeah, I mean, here it is. I mean, we were talking about this one for a while, at least a couple months. So, I mean, it's coming along quite nicely so far. Hopefully we'll see it continue to move up. This is against Bitcoin, by the way. This is the Monero valuation against Bitcoin. Solomon Gumball says, do you look beyond charts and statistics and factor in economical factors at all in your price predictions? I mean, I just assume that it's all factored in already because, I mean, there's not really a quantitative way that you can necessarily factor it in the first place. All of it would just be kind of waving your hands and saying this is quantitative analysis, incorporating economic stuff. But, I mean, how can you do it in any way that makes sense? Hey, I'm seeing some people that want to act like little kids. And I can remove you as well. Chicken chow mein. All right, I'll get rid of you too, man. I don't really care. I have a pretty thick skin. I just don't want people polluting the chat with useless comments. So it's nothing to do with not having a thick skin. It just has to do with wanting to keep the channel and the comments of high quality. And if you want to troll, then I will oblige you as well and remove you. Yeah, I'll probably make a real estate video if you guys want it. Yeah, I mean, having it 2024 and 2028, I think will be the same cycle. By the way, you say that having it 2028, there's a chance, right, that it won't be in 2028. It might actually be in 2027 because if you think about it, the 2012 halving was at the end of the year. The 2016 halving was in like July. The 2020 halving was in May. So the 2024 halving might be in like February or something. So then what you might consider to be the 2028 halving could actually be a fourth quarter 2027 halving. So just something to think about. Tomaz says, you're the only one on YouTube that goes by data and facts, but I truly hope you're wrong and it will pump like crazy in 2021. You know what? I mean, at the end of the day, if it turns out I am wrong and Bitcoin does go to 100K in 2021, then so be it, right? I mean, I'll wipe away the tears with all the money that I made in 2021 rather than having to wait till 2023. I mean, the point is to say, you know, it's more than likely going to take another 2 to 3 years, maybe even 4 years, probably 3 years or so, rather than 1 year. And if it comes sooner, it comes sooner. But don't necessarily believe the narrative that it has to happen next year just because most of crypto YouTube is telling you. I mean, someone says like, what's the most pessimistic price for Bitcoin at the end of the bull market? I mean, maybe it'll do something like, I mean, if it go, let's suppose that, like, let's envision a scenario where Bitcoin peaks at, say, the end of 2022. Um, then if that were the case, so imagine it were to peak in, say, in 2022 rather than in 2023, then maybe it would peak at, at maybe somewhere between like 50 to $80,000 or something. Maybe this would be something to consider. I think 2023 would be nice because I think it would have enough juice to get a little bit higher. Um, but I mean, that would basically be my response. Someone says Ethereum versus Bitcoin best ROI prediction. Probably Ethereum, but you're paying for it with more units of risk. So I mean, it might do better. I think it will do better, but there's a good chance. I mean, there's at least a non-negligible chance that it doesn't. And so if it does, then you paid for it with units of risk, right? I mean, there's no free lunch. If you're getting a coin that might yield you a higher ROI, you're taking on a higher level of risk. It's simple as that. Someone says Ethereum versus ADA. I mean, I own a lot more Ethereum than ADA. I use ADA as a hedge against Ethereum. So I think ADA can probably do pretty well the market cycle. It's actually kind of up somewhat recently, back to 10.5 cents or so. So, but again, I do own a lot more Ethereum at the end of the day. Actually, if you look at the ADA Ethereum chart, it's. I mean, I don't know if this is going to repeat, but you can kind of see this move back down and then back up and then further back down. So I don't know if that's going to repeat down, back up to the top, and then maybe further back down. Also, if you draw, I mean, you can see that the peaks tend to be around the same area. This is the ADA valuation against Ethereum. But you can also see that it tends to be moving downward, right? I mean, for the most part, this, the ratio of ADA against Ethereum, it tends to be moving downward, but then it seems to have these spikes that take it back up to this level up here, 0.0005 or so against its valuation against Ethereum, which is approximately 2x where it currently is. Best book to learn mathematical modeling. I don't know. I might have some on my shelf. My undergrad was in math. My PhD was in engineering. Maybe you guys can see some books over there. There's also some nursing books because my wife did nursing, but I don't know if you guys can see the books. But there's a lot of engineering and mathematics books over there, so some combination of those probably. There's actually a book down there on the bottom called Mathematical Methods for Scientists and Engineers, but that's actually probably more theoretical than actually applied. Someone said Marco Polo says, "I appreciate your data-driven approach. Do you not think it's advantage to value your Bitcoin in gold rather than USD?" If you I actually have like a I call it like a 4D video. Um, it shows the price of Bitcoin and everything is, and you also can look at gold and stuff too. One thing is qualitatively whether you measure Bitcoin against USD or gold, qualitatively the chart looks the same because when an asset like Bitcoin goes up 1,000,000% over a decade, it doesn't really matter whether you measure it against USD or gold. It still looks the same, right? It still looks the same at the end of the day. I get a lot of people saying, oh, you should plot it against this other thing. Qualitatively, it still all looks the same because Bitcoin has just completely surpassed everything else in terms of its ROI for the last decade, right? I mean, it's well, I don't know if there was something that beat it, but it's the only thing that I can think of that gave back that much of an ROI. So it doesn't really matter what you compare it to in the long term. Maybe you can argue if you want to look at it on like a year by year basis, it could be useful. But over the macro scale, it doesn't really matter if you plot it against USD or you plot it against gold or you plot it against the S&P 500. Qualitatively, they look the same. Michael Hendricks says, on your risk level chart, is there ever a risk of never buying back in? I feel like I saw that on your Link version of the risk level chart with little to no blue levels. So with Link, it's different. I treat the risk levels differently. And as I said earlier in the video, there were two key buying opportunities even in the last few days. So it hit below the 0.5 risk level here. In September, on September 23rd, the risk level of 0.5 was $8, and it briefly went below it. And then a few days ago, the risk level of 0.5 was $8.46, and it briefly went below it. So I was able to accumulate more, and there's two main things that have to happen for me to accumulate Link, right? And one of them is the risk level needs to be below 0.5 against USD. With most coins, it's 0.4. With Link, I make an exception, and you could also argue that you could accumulate it at less than 0.65 Link Bitcoin risk. So I was still able to accumulate some. And by the way, I mean, there's still a good chance that it comes back down into the 0.5 risk band again. I mean, like it hasn't, the general downtrend hasn't even changed, right? I mean, it's still going down. I mean, it pumped here, but you know what? It also pumped here, and it also pumped here, and it also pumped here, and yet it still continued down. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's out of the woods. I mean, it could just move sideways for a while, for all we know. But I mean, generally speaking, I think that there probably will come times where you might not buy back into a coin that you would want, but in my opinion, it's okay, right? There's always other coins that are going to have a risk-adjusted return that you can look into. And Link presented an opportunity to buy back here, and it presented another one here. And if it presents another one, then I'll buy it again. But it just depends on the trend of each different coin, right? And Link is the only altcoin that I buy up to 0.5 risk, right? It's the only altcoin that I'll buy up to that level. Someone says they're considering joining into the Cryptoverse membership using the data dashboard. The data dashboard takes a lot of uncertainty into investing. By having a quantitative measure of risk. Are you saying it adds uncertainty? You're saying it takes a lot of, I guess you're saying it takes uncertainty away, I guess. I mean, you can always check it out for 1 month, and if it's not your thing, you could cancel. Do you watch other crypto channels? I don't watch. I used to watch other crypto channels, but I don't anymore, and I'll tell you why. I don't. So the issue is that if you watch something else, like if I watch other YouTube channels, then like I might hear what they're saying and then have a hard time seeing the chart in any other way, right? If they say such and such is going to do this, then I'll just be thinking, oh, like this is what this person said, and then I'll start thinking that, okay, maybe there's a chance this happens. I would prefer to just have a clean slate in my head and just go where the data takes me, right? If I start watching other people, first of all, I simply don't have time for it because this is not my full-time job. I have a full-time job that's separate from crypto. I mean, I did not want to I got my PhD in engineering so I could actually work as an engineer. Maybe I'll quit it one day, I don't know. But for now, I have a full-time job. So I really just don't have time to do this and, have family time and work a full-time job and watch other people watch their other watch their crypto videos. If I am on YouTube, I'm typically watching other things. I'll tell you the name of a few, maybe a couple. I mean, one of my favorite YouTube channels that you should check out if you haven't is called Three Blue, One Brown. Most of you probably will hate it, to be completely honest, but I like it. Right? It's all about math. If you like math and you like just sitting around and watching this pretty smart guy talk math and do things in a really nice, visually appealing way, then I would encourage you to check out that YouTube channel, Three Blue, One Brown. So generally speaking, I don't tend to watch any other people. I used to, though. Like, it's nothing against them. I think there's other great channels out there. There's certainly channels that offer great content and have a place, right? And I mean, like, there's a lot of channels that talk about the news, right? And this is useful for people if people just want to get caught up on what's happening in crypto, just to know what projects exist and what's out there. I mean, this can be very valuable. But I just simply don't have time to watch other people anymore. And again, it's nothing against them. There's a lot of great channels. I just simply don't have time. I think that Bitcoin, I mean, someone says, you think it'll just go sideways forever? I think that it'll tend to increase over the long haul. I stopped accumulating Bitcoin at the zero point 0.5 risk level. Looks like some people are saying that they like the Three Blue, One Brown Math Channel 2. I didn't. I actually, I'm surprised. There's a lot of people that are saying that Three Blue, One Brown is amazing. Yeah, you guys really should check it out. Like, just actually, you know what you should do if you're skeptical about looking at the channel. He actually made a video on Bitcoin. Okay, so go to YouTube maybe after the live stream is done, or you can do it now, right? I mean, it's his video on Bitcoin is probably more important than the live stream I'm doing right now, because I've already gone through most of it. So you could even leave the live stream, go to YouTube. You're already on YouTube. Type in Three Blue, One Brown. What is Bitcoin? And I think he does a really great job of just breaking it down for the average person to understand. So if you're looking for a video to maybe you're not as familiar with Bitcoin as you want to be, or you think you should be, it's a great introduction. So I think it's called like, but what is Bitcoin, or something like that. Maybe it's but what is blockchain, but I think it's like but what is Bitcoin is the name of the video. So I would encourage you to check it out. Three Blue, One Brown. It's a great channel. Someone says, "Do you watch or used to watch Vsauce?" I have watched Vsauce before. He has he has more subscribers than Three Blue, One Brown, but he also caters to a much different audience, right? Three Blue, One Brown caters to a more quantitative audience. Vsauce caters more towards you don't really necessarily need to be that quantitative to enjoy his content. So he appeals to a more general audience. So I mean, I think he has decent videos, but I do prefer more of like a quantitative approach. But I mean, even Vsauce has some good videos that are 20, 30 minutes long, something like that are pretty interesting. He did one video where he like locked himself in a room for like 2 days or something, and it was like completely completely isolated, like no noise or anything. That was an interesting video. He also did a video on like how many holes does the human body have, which I thought was really interesting. So I mean, that's another video you could check out. These are done by Vsauce. So I have seen some of these videos, but I haven't watched him as much recently. Someone says, what are your thoughts on equities versus crypto? I definitely have more in equities than crypto. And I imagine there's going to be many of you that don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. Yeah, Vsauce and someone, it's more just like fun facts, as he said. It's more of like a generalized thing. Um, you don't, yeah, I mean, it's like when Three Blue, One Brown talks, like, I mean, he knows his stuff, and it's like, it's really quantitative. Uh, Vsauce is more again like I mean, it could have been written. I mean, I don't know who it was written by. Maybe it was written by him. Probably was written by him, but it's not as quantitative, right? It would only, anyone could come up with the material if you just sat down for a few hours and just like Googled it, right? Three Blue, One Brown is more of like you have to have like a graduate level mathematics education, and also have some really good, skills in terms of visualizing mathematics to even relay this information in the way that he does. So this is why I prefer the more quantitative approach, because it's, I really value things that you can't just easily look up, right? You can't just easily find it, right? So this is stuff, when you're talking about like graduate level mathematics, or even explaining undergraduate level mathematics from like a very easy to understand perspective is really useful, right? And I think too, like it helps for a lot of people. It can help make a lot of things click, right, with mathematics, like Fourier transforms, looking, like seeing pi show up in random places, right? Looking at infinite sums and stuff like that. By the way, here's an interesting mathematics fact. So there's that I can actually prove this to you, but I won't do it. I won't bore you. But did you know that 0.999 repeating forever is identically 1? It mathematically it is 1. It does not round to 1. It is 1. Okay? So you might think like, how can that be? How can a number that is 0.99 repeating forever, how can it be 1? Well, there's actually a mathematical proof to show that it is 1. Another way to consider it, which is not a proof, so I'm not going to go through the proof. It's basically just like the a over 1 minus r proof, but I'm not going to go through that proof. But if you just want to know from like a more just easy to understand, so that 1 divided by 9 is 0.111 repeating forever. 2 divided by 9 is 0.222 repeating forever. 8 divided by 9 is 0.888 repeating forever. 9 divided by 9 is 0.999 repeating forever. But wait a minute, 9 divided by 9 is 1, right? So this is the point, 0.999 repeating forever is identically 1. This is just like an interesting little math thing that some of you probably find interesting, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting anyways. But I digress a little bit. Yeah, yeah. The summation to negative 1/12 was a pretty interesting video too. Well, looks like Bitcoin's still at 11.4. Let me just check to see if anything's moving. Probably not. I mean, it's still relatively early. Um, yeah, everything the altcoins are still fairly quiet. And again, I would expect these things to wake up if Bitcoin starts moving sideways here. So if Bitcoin just starts moving sideways here, then look for some altcoins to start waking up. If it starts moving back down, then altcoins are going to bleed against Bitcoin. And you might say, oh, that's not fair because they didn't pump with Bitcoin, so why should they bleed? Well, that's just what happens, right? Whether you like it or not, that's just what happens. A lot of altcoins will bleed against Bitcoin if it comes back down to the 20-week moving average. Guadalupe says, your opinion on the stock to flow model. I would encourage you to maybe rewind about 20 minutes, and I rambled about it for a while. Remember, if you guys do like the content and you want access to the premium content and the risk levels, if you're not sure what those are, you can, if you sign up on my website, intothecryptoverse.com, you get access to the private Telegram chat room, the private Telegram alerts channel, the risk dashboard, a weekly premium video, and a weekly premium report. And you also unlock all the access to all the old ones as well. So check it out if you're interested. Please give the video a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you guys like the content. It does help the algorithms, and it would be nice to grow the channel, to reach 40,000 subs and whatnot. We also do have the public Telegram channel, which you guys can also join. So I'll put that in the chat as well if you guys want to join it. Yeah, if you rewind, I also covered Ethereum. Someone says ADA is beginning to pump. No, we'll see. It is interesting to see it, like right above. This is kind of where it was holding some resistance for a while. Well, it's maybe popping above it some. Jesus Gonzalez says, why don't you just build a model that predicts the YouTube algorithm instead of asking us for likes? The YouTube algorithm is built around likes. That's why I'm asking you for them. That's the whole premise, right? I mean, if YouTube rewarded people that provided useful content, then YouTube would look a lot different. But it rewards people that provide clickbait and catchy thumbnails, right? That's what it rewards. And the way people get rewarded too is when more people click on the videos, then they're more likely to get likes, and then those videos do better. And the way you get people to click on the videos is to have catchy thumbnails or to make really sensational titles, right? So that's one of the reasons why I would contend that a lot of these channels have so many subscribers is because they sensationalize everything, and every single day of the week is an emergency in crypto, right? I mean, every video has the word emergency in it, right? These are just more sensational titles that are trying to get you to click on the video in the first place, and then you get the likes, and then those videos do a lot better. This is the YouTube algorithm. So it's not about coding something that can outsmart the YouTube algorithm. That's just what it is. And that's just what it is. Like that's what the YouTube algorithm values. Stop asking me about Polkadot predictions. I don't know. It's not been around long enough to have any idea. Yeah, someone says, how could the algorithm be designed to reward good content? I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, it just tends to reward the catchy thumbnails and the sensational titles because that's what catch people's opinions, or catch people's view or whatever, or their attention. I mean, I think that the best way out of it is for people to become smarter and to not fall for the same type of clickbait over and over and over, right? If you see the clickbait, you just say, yeah, like it's a ridiculous video because it's the third emergency this week. How many emergencies can we have in 1 week? So I think that's ultimately what needs to happen. Will that happen? No, of course not, because this is just human nature to go after these types of things. But that's what would probably need to happen for, these, videos that actually provide more useful content to get, more visibility. Joshua, I already talked about stock to flow and I talked about DOT, so just rewind the video. The model is also optimized to generate ad revenue. Maybe, but as you guys know, I don't have ads enabled on the channel. So they claim I think that it's separated. I think that the ad stuff is separate from the search stuff. But I don't actually have ads on the channel. I mean, yeah, Eli, I could monetize the channel if I wanted to, but um, I just don't want to, right? I mean, I don't want people to have to go watch those like those garbage ads that play on a lot of these crypto channels. Like it's just pointless. I mean, no one wants to see that, and I'm not going to make you guys watch it. Flora says, just realized you don't run ads. Good on you, but don't ever change your. But if you do ever change your mind, don't feel bad. I won't change my mind. Believe me, I'm not going to be running ads on the channel. At least like the YouTube ads. Like I'm not. I have no intentions of ever doing this. I like to. I don't want you guys to. And a lot of times they show you stuff that is outright, like um, some well, I don't want to go too much into it, but some of those ads can be pretty bad, like and things that the general population shouldn't be watching and falling for. Right. I mean, you guys know how I monetize. I just have the premium list, and this is a good way, right? Because I can monetize it for the people that want the premium content, and then for those who don't, you just stick to the public channel, right? And this is what I find works for me, rather than rather than posting affiliate links to 10 different exchanges to try to get you guys to use my referral code, right? I don't have any referral links on the channel either. Um, because this is the thing, right? It's about trust. If I post stuff like that, then how do you trust that what I'm telling you is not just for my own personal benefit, but I actually believe it? This is another reason I don't post referral links. And I hope that you never see me post a referral link. Thomas says, "Do you think it would be worth buying XRP just for the Spark airdrop in December?" Um, no, no, I do not. I think that again, I think that XRP is. I mean, you can do it if you want. I mean, if you want to just time the airdrop, like go for it. But in terms of holding it long term, I would personally wait until Bitcoin gets to its prior all time high. If Bitcoin gets to $20,000 in December, then my answer would change. But I don't think it's going to do so. So I would say no. Do I do requested coin analysis? If enough people want a certain coin, then I'll add it to the risk dashboard. Or to the risk dashboard. Currently, I have XT or currently the coins on the risk dashboard, which I try to talk about somewhat occasionally, are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, ADA, Monero, Litecoin, XRP, VeChain, Cosmos, and and XTZ. So those are the coins that are on the risk dashboard. I also have Polkadot up there, but I don't actually have a risk level for it because it hasn't been around long enough to merit one. Do I think the dollar will ever go to zero? Not in our lifetime. I'm also not going to add any more cryptocurrencies to the risk dashboard until I've actually added the precious metals, because I've been promising the people on the premium list that I'm going to add the precious metal risk levels, and I just still haven't done it yet. And so that's the next risk levels to be added to the risk. Oh, I also have the risk level for Tesla and the S&P 500. So the next one to be added will be the precious metals, at least gold and silver. I mean, the main precious metals that I follow are gold, silver, um, uh, palladium. And palladium actually has a pretty good, uh, and then platinum. If you look, I mean, I'm probably gonna lose some of you at this point, but if you just humor me for a minute and you look at the palladium trend, it actually seems to. I mean, this is one I've been, I talk about somewhat irregularly on the channel, right? But this is a pretty good trend. And we talked about this one a while back. So palladium, I mean, it's since 2016, it's up, 400% or so. Um, and since August of 2018, it's up, a couple 100%, so 200% or so. So palladium's actually been doing quite well. So that's one of the ones I follow too. Can you share your rationale on preferring equities over crypto? Yeah, I mean, it's just risk management, right? I mean, it's all about risk management. I'm not going to bet, as I say, the family farm on cryptocurrency, right? I mean, you need to have a more, not financial advice. In my opinion, it's better to have a more diversified approach. If Bitcoin drops by 50%, the last thing I need is my net worth dropping by 50%, right? This is not what I want. So this is why I hold more in equities. Now you guys are talking about palladium. I'm not. I mean, this is one of the ones I've bought throughout the years occasionally, right? I mean, it's not. I'm not waiting for a specific, for a specific break right now to buy. I'm just saying that this is one that in recent years has been doing quite well, and is why I include it. I mean, if we scroll out more, so let's go to like a weekly view. You can really see what it's done. So this is the macro level chart since 1998. Um, so this is what it looks like. So again, I mean, we could be nearing the end of this amazing bull run, but I mean, again, this is one that I've been following for a while. If we look at gold and silver, um, so let's look at the gold silver ratio. So I've actually looked at this one on the channel before, right? And we've talked about it. The general low, the low point back to the high. So this is gold divided by silver. So if it's high, right, and if it's really high, then it means that gold is doing really well against silver. So these are general times to move from gold to silver, silver to gold to silver, silver to gold to silver, right? And the general contention that I've said before, right, when we came up here, was that I think over the next several years it'll probably slowly trend down, where I think silver will slowly gain on gold. So this is, I mean, for what it's worth, this is my macro analysis on silver. By the way, I mean, you might think this has to happen immediately. This is since 97, right? Since August of 97. So this move right here from August of 97 to the top took like 6 years, okay? And then this one from '03 to '08 took another 6 years, and then this one back down and then back up took took 9 years. So it's not, and I mean maybe, and I don't want you guys to get too overwhelmed by this, but maybe what we're seeing to some degree, dare I say, are lengthening cycles. Um, we'll just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. I'll probably wrap it up soon, guys. It's getting kind of late here. Am I providing the moving average 2021 free? I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, if you want the 20-week moving average for, I mean, well, first of all you need to do is you can plot these, right? You can just go to indicators and strategies, and you can put on the weekly 20-week moving average, and if you want to put on an exponential moving average, you just plot on the exponential moving average. You don't need me for those. I mean, you just go to TradingView and you can get them. I'm not sure what someone's asking if they can request a coin to do risk analysis. I'm not sure what coin are you talking about? Steven says he wants to meet me before he dies. I would say in maybe after the pandemic, we'll do like a big event where, people who watch the channel or whatever can maybe come to like a big hotel or something in New York City, and we'll have like a conference event where maybe we can get some speakers, and we can all just sit around, talk about cryptocurrency, do that kind of stuff. So let me know if you guys would be interested in that, and I can definitely look into it. It's something that I think would be really interesting, right? To organize a big event in a couple years post pandemic, right, where people can actually travel. New York City seems like a likely place because it's just like a great place for in general, but in the current times, it would obviously not be good. So I mean, it doesn't have to be New York, but that's just the first place that came to mind. I've actually been to Boston a couple times. Some people are saying Boston. What's your chain link hedge? More chain link. I spent a week in Boston back in 2011 because that was I was actually at NASA in at the time, and we went out to a competition in Boston for a week. I mean, yeah, I liked it. I liked Boston. It was a nice. I thought it was a nice place. I mean, I didn't spend a ton of time there. It was just like a week, and I was at a conference. I'm from North Carolina. Escrow Well says, "Why are you bragging about your previous job history when now you just sit in a room on YouTube? This is not my main job, and in fact, I have a PhD in engineering and work as an engineer at a like my question to you is, why are you letting everyone on in the chat know how ignorant you are and making comments that are simply not true?" You know what's worse? Esquerwell, he's saying like, "Why are you bragging about this when all you're doing is sitting in a room making YouTube videos?" Like, well, what are you doing? You're sitting in a room watching me make YouTube videos. So, because I mean, this is a live stream, so I'm making the video. So, it's kind of a funny way to insult someone, to say what they're doing is bad when you're literally watching me do it. I do not play Fortnite. No. I know I should ignore the trolls, but sometimes it's somewhat therapeutic. What price would you set limit bias for Link? This is covered on the premium list, so I don't really want to say exactly where it is, like what it is here. Can the Heat actually close out the series? I don't know, maybe. I mean, Jimmy Butler is definitely doing what he needs to do, but I have a feeling the Lakers will win it. Outside of investments, family, YouTube, got any hobbies? Yeah, I mean, I like to play tennis, soccer, chess. Um, I like to watch, sports. I mean, the reason I didn't do the live stream exactly when Bitcoin was breaking out above 11.1 was because I was watching the NBA finals, and I waited until that finished before I did the live stream. Sorry, I'm not going to talk about politics on the channel. Just a interesting path to go down. What board games do I have back there? Well, there's um, Terra Mystica, basically every Settlers of Catan, most of the Dominions, Agricola, Trajan, Seven Wonders, Eclipse, Kingsburg, Smash Up, Through the Ages, The Princes of Florence, Camel Cup, Puerto Rico, um, Terraforming Mars, Lewis and Clark, Ticket to Ride, Twilight Imperium, Codenames, Avalon, The Resistance, Daybreak, and a few more. Carcassonne, Smash Up. That's most of them though. Yeah, there's a few more. I can't. I'm trying to remember all of them. Um, oh, Hanabi. Hanabi is a great game, by the way. If you guys have never heard of Hanabi, and you're looking for just like a cool little card game to play with like a few friends, it's like a great game. You can play it with like one other person. You can play it with like three or four other people, but it's a really good game. And there's actually, if you do the math, I think I calculated it out. Out of all, like, so Hanabi, let me know if you guys have played it, but I think that only 75% of the hands are theoretically winnable. Um, but there's like an algorithm that if you and all your friends know when you're playing it, you can win it if it is a hand that is winnable, like every time, right? As long as you do exactly what you're supposed to do. But even if you don't, it's a fun game that you can learn and try to figure out how to solve it. So Hanabi is definitely a good one, and it probably only costs like a few dollars. Like I would be shocked if it costs more than $10 to be completely honest. But I think that's a good game. There's some other games up there. I mean, there's like 10 different Carcassones. Oh, Between Two Cities. That's another one I have. Between Two Cities. Um, Perudo. It's like the dice game. It's like the dice game they played on Pirates of the Caribbean. I think like the Davy Jones, like the game that they played. I think that's basically the game. Liar's Dice or whatever. Oh, and of course there's chess, right? I mean, chess, in my opinion, is the best board game. Someone says they hate chess. You just memorize patterns. I would obviously argue it's much more than that, but it would probably get me into a discussion that's probably not worth getting into right now. Do you believe in aliens? And if so, do you think they had this is a really different question. Um, I mean, in the entire universe, is there some chance that at the very, I mean, there's intelligent life and there's not intelligent life, so it probably depends on what you mean exactly. I mean, if anywhere in the universe, is there some type of bacteria or something that somewhere exists? Probably. Let's see if anything's moving. Link's dropping a little bit, 1057. Still pretty high up right now. Again, I still think this would be too high of a level to move into if you haven't already. Um, we'll see what happens, right? I mean, we'll see if Bitcoin can hold this level or if it continues moving on up. I'm just scrolling through, seeing what the other coins are doing. Um, yeah, nothing too exciting. All right, guys, it's late here. I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Um, Remember to check out the premium list if you guys want access to the exclusive content um, and all the stuff that comes with that, like the risk levels and the weekly reports and weekly videos. Remember to check out the Telegram channel if you want access to just the public chat room. So check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Please subscribe. Please give the video a thumbs up. We're at 393 likes. Maybe we can get to 400. That doesn't really matter because the stream's going off. So subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and we'll pick up where we left off sometime this weekend, right? I'll either do another live stream or I'll post a video. We'll just talk about the markets, just stay up to date with what's going on, and just trying to continue the good fight. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.